everyone, so today I've got two special guests with me. Minnie bought this cute outfit at the Disney store, but it is clearly missing shoes, a purse and a hat, so I'm going to show you how to make these things yourself. They are pretty easy and fast to make, and you can find the links to the patterns in the description box below. Daisy also bought an outfit, but she needs a backpack to carry her markers around, so we are going to make one for her too. For this DIY you will need fabric. I use for leather, but you could use felt or any other fabric. Just double it if it is too thin. A hot glue gun. The patterns, I transferred them onto cardboard. Needle and thread, a hole punch, snap fasteners, a button or velcro if you don't have snap fasteners, 6mm elastic, yarn, tape, a string, ribbon for the shorter straps of the backpack, decorational ribbon. If you don't have ribbon, you could also use shoelaces for the shoulder straps of the backpack. I used brown laces for my backpack. For the purse we will need to cut out the pattern once. We need a button, some decorational ribbon, a string, and of course needle and thread and your glue gun. Cut the string about 14 cm long and tape the ends to prevent fraying. Now fold your purse right sides together and lay the string in between the fabric. Then sew along the edge as close as possible. To secure it even more, I sew all the way back. Repeat the same process on the other side. When you're done, simply turn your purse inside out. Now take your button and check the right position. Then take your scissors, fold the flap in half and cut a slit long enough to fit the button through. If you don't want to use tiny buttons, you could also use snap fasteners or velcro. Now sew the button onto the purse. If you want to leave the purse plain, you are done after sewing it on. I'm going to add ribbon to my purse to make it even cuter. So take your hot glue gun and start gluing the ribbon beginning at the back of the purse and then simply wrap it around till you reach the beginning. Now your purse is finally done and ready to be worn by one of your Nuimos. Now onto our next DIY. For the backpack you will need 2 of the backpack pieces, 1 flap, shoelaces, ribbon, snap fasteners, a hole punch, a little Mickey head if you want to, and needle, thread and a glue gun. First of all, cut out all the pieces. Now mark where the holes for the ribbons need to go. I leave about 7 millimeters from the top and I try to hit the middle of these side panels. It's actually easier to hit the middle of the side panels if you draw on the line for the side panels first. I forgot to do so, so I think my holes aren't completely centered. The holes on the back and front pieces of the backpack are about 4.5 centimeters apart from each other. And now punch all the holes. Now take your 2 pieces and place them right sides together. Sew along the 3 sides I'm showing you, but don't sew around the edge. Again, just use a straight stitch and I'm sewing as close to the edge as possible. When you're done sewing the sides together, take the open edges and close them as shown with a simple straight stitch. Repeat the same process on the other side. When you're done, simply turn your backpack inside out. Now take your ribbon and thread it through the holes. Now take your flap, shoelaces cut into about 16 centimeter long strips, the snap fastener, the Mickey head and a glue gun. Now take your flap and glue it onto the backpack, but be sure that you don't glue it onto the ribbon directly. I position it under the ribbon so that I can still use it and replace it if I want to. Now I'm simply gluing the snap fastener on. To get the position of the other half right, I'm simply closing the flap and pressing it into the leather so that I can see a little dent. I'm now also adding my little Mickey Mouse head. And now let's glue on the shoulder straps. So I'm positioning them right under the end of the flap. Glue the upper part of the straps close together. On the bottom I will leave a bigger space between the straps because otherwise you wouldn't be able to wear the backpack properly. And that's it, your backpack is already done and you can place some toy mini brands in it. Maybe you could also use mini brands. If you want the backpack to be a bit sturdier, just take a piece of cardboard and glue it onto the bottom. So let's make our easy shoes. You will need 4 of the button pattern pieces, 2 of the tongue pieces and 2 of the back pieces and an elastic, your needle and thread, and of course yarn and a hot glue gun. And I nearly forgot, you will also need a hole punch or a thick needle. So I drew all the pattern pieces by hand, which means they aren't completely symmetrical. So be sure to flip your pattern for 2 of the bottom pieces so that you can lay them left sides together for sewing, otherwise they won't match completely. Now to make one shoe, take 2 of the bottom pieces, 1 flap piece and of course the back piece of your shoe. Then place your bottom pieces left sides together and sew close around the edge. Now take the long piece of your pattern, I'm not sure how to call it, and punch holes in it for the shoelaces. Now take your back piece and mark the middle, and then try to align the middle of the back piece with the middle of the bottom pieces. Now sew the both parts together with a simple stitch as close to the edge as possible. It is not important that your stitches look good because we are going to cover it up later in the process. When you're done with one side, repeat the process for the other side. Now take your tongue and place it on the front of the shoe. And again, use a simple stitch and sew as close to the edge as possible. We are going to cover the stitches up later. When you're done, flip your shoe right side out. I put my shoe on Minnie so that it is easier to get the shoelaces in. Don't forget to tape the ends of the yarn to prevent fraying. Now take your elastic and simply glue it around the edge of the shoe to hide the seam. Well, and that's it. Your shoe is already done, and now just make a second one. So for your head you will need 2 of the big circles, one shoe button pattern We are going to recycle it and use it for the head too. And a strip which is about 16 centimeters long and 3 centimeters in height. So I only cut out the middle of one of the head brim patterns because I wanted to be sure that they align properly. So I'm going to place them right sides together and then I'm going to mark out the middle part again. Now place your pieces right sides together and sew around the edge with a simple stitch. Make tiny slits into your seam allowance, but be sure not to cut the thread. If you don't make these tiny slits, your head will look a bit wonky if you turn the fabric inside out. Now take your shoe bottom piece and the long strip and sew both pieces together. Make sure that you don't sew right at the edge of the long strips, so I'm leaving about 1 centimeter because I'm going to join the ends later in the process. Now I'm going to join both ends of the strip together with a simple stitch. Try to sew it in a straight line. When you're done, trim the seam allowance. And then flip the piece inside out. Now onto the hardest part of the head. So now we need to join the top of the head and the head brim together. And I decided to glue the brim because I wanted it to lay flat. Sew the both pieces together, take the top of your head and put it through the middle of the brim. Then try to align the pieces and sew around as close to the edge as possible. Be sure to sew through both layers of the brim, because I actually missed one layer a few times, so I had to fix this later in the process. Now I'm marking out where the slits for the ears need to go. I left about 1 centimeter and 2 millimeter from the edge of the brim. Now I'm going to decorate my head with a few ribbons. So I simply wrap it around the top part of the head and I'm going to glue it in place with a hot glue gun. I also added a few roses and I sew around the brim because I didn't like how puffy it looked, and now it looks much better, so I would recommend doing it. And if you want to, you could sew around the slits too, to make the head a bit cleaner. And that's it for today, guys. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and feel free to link me on Instagram if you make anything from my tutorial, or if you are in the Nuimos crafters group, simply link me there. I'm pretty excited to see your creations. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss any future tutorials.